Welcome you all to this virtual classroom, dear students. Today we are starting the chapter 6 of your general science. The chapter is life processes. Already we have taken some parts of this lesson, but today we are again starting it from beginning. And in today's class we shall discuss what are the life processes. We shall also come to know about the life process like nutrition in details. We will try to understand how do living things get their food. Then autotrophic nutrition. In autotrophic nutrition we shall discuss photosynthesis. Then heterotrophic nutrition, nutrition in amoeba, and nutrition in human being. So let's begin the class. So we are ready to start this lesson, life processes. So in this lesson today we will definitely discuss those points, that is what is life process, its definition. We will come to know certain particular term that is called as MRS GREN. What is MRS GREN we will discuss. We will come to know the term nutrition, then autotrophic nutrition, especially the autotrophs. Then under autotrophs we shall discuss photosynthesis. Then we will come to see the structure of stomata. Finally, we will come to the heterotrophic nutrition, the heterotrophs. After heterotrophs, we will come to see how the food is broken down by the organisms after getting nutrition. Finally, we will come to see nutrition in microorganisms, single cell organisms like amoeba. And finally, this is nutrition in human being. However, this 10 number point, nutrition in human being, already I have taken a class. I will share the link at the end of this particular class. So let's start. So first, what definition of life process? There are certain biochemical activities going on constantly inside our body. These all processes which keep us alive are called as life processes. So without the life processes, we can never survive. Now, for example, if we see the street, there is a dog running. So if I ask you a question, what is the dog doing? You will see the dog is running. So the running is a movement. So movement is a biological process, life process. Now another condition has appeared that you have seen a dog is sleeping. Now if I ask you, what is the dog doing? Then you will say that it is sleeping. Now the sleeping is also a biological activity. But during sleeping, there are certain other biological activities that are going on which you may not have seen. But the different processes going on inside the body of this sleeping dog is that the dog is respiring, the cells of the dog is dividing inside the body, blood is being circulated, excretory system is working, and all the unwanted materials are being filtered from the blood by the kidneys, and so many things. So all these processes are life processes. These are certain biological activities. So the definition of life process. So what is it? That is all the biological activities that are going on inside the body of an organism by which the organism is kept alive. All these processes together called as life processes. Now obviously the question will come, what are the different life processes? The different life processes, to understand this, we will come to this particular second point called as MRS GREN. MRS GREN. Now what is MRS GREN? So let us see. If we just come to know the meaning of this, then we will come to understand what is actually what are the different types of life processes. Here M is the word which indicates movement. Movement. So movement is a life process. All living organisms have to exhibit this process called as movement. It may be a plant or it may be an animal. If it is living, it has to show movement. So there is a difference between movement and locomotion. Plants may not be able to locomote, but plants show different types of movement. Even plants can move like animals can do. So movement is the first life process present in both plants and animals. Second, R. R means this is the respiration. Respiration. So respiration is the second biological activity which is considered to be one life process. And after that, S is sensitivity. Sensitivity means that they have the ability to sense. They can feel. That feelings is another one. So movement, respiration, sensitivity make it MRS. Then we are coming to see GREN. So in GREN the first is growth. So this is another life process, a very important biological activity without which organisms cannot survive. Then R is reproduction. It means that the living organisms can produce their own kind. This is a very important life process. After this E for the excretion. Excretion, which is meaning that this is the process by which the waste materials are eliminated from the body of an organism. Otherwise, what will happen if the excretion, that life process, is not working inside our body? All the toxic materials which are getting accumulated in the body of a living organism will eventually kill it. And finally, and the last one but not the least, is nutrition. So these are the different seven. These are the 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are the most important life processes. And in this entire lesson, we will have to discuss all those 7 life processes one by one. But the last one here in this is nutrition, and we are going to start the lesson as per your syllabus with this, and this is the nutrition. So let us start the first life process as per your syllabus, and that is nutrition. So obviously the question will come to your mind, what is actually nutrition? Nutrition is a broad term. It is the process, a combination, number one, that is obtaining food. The first step is that a living organism has to obtain food, and after obtaining food, it has to utilize it. It has to utilize, means you can say utilization of food. So obtaining food, first thing, and after the food is obtained, then the organism has to utilize the food. Now question is, why the food is utilized? Food is utilized to carry out the different biological activities. Because to carry out all the different biological activities, the food will provide us with energy, and by using this energy, we'll be able to carry out the different life processes, and these life processes ultimately will keep us alive. So this is what is nutrition. So what is nutrition? Nutrition is the complex process of obtaining food followed by utilization of food to carry out the different life processes or vital activities necessary to keep us alive. So that is called as nutrition. So nutrition doesn't mean digestion of food. So digestion is a part of nutrition. But nutrition is starting from eating the food and then swallowing it, or before swallowing, the mastication process also comes under nutrition. Then food is being swallowed, and after being swallowed, it is digested in the different parts of the alimentary canal. And after the food is being digested, then it is finally absorbed into our cells, and all these include together to make it nutrition. So hope you have understood what is the first life process nutrition's definition is. And then we are coming to see the autotrophic nutrition. But before that, see, nutrition has types. There are types of nutrition. Nutrition is of different type. In class 10 syllabus, 2 types of nutrition are given. That 2 types are, number 1 is autotrophic, and the second is, we have come to know, that is heterotrophic. So these 2 words you have learned in your lower classes as well. Autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition are the 2 main types of nutrition. However, there can be some other different types of nutrition like chemotrophism, that is heterotrophic, and autotrophic. You will get it in your higher classes. So we will not discuss it because it is not included in our class 10 syllabus. So out of those two types of nutrition, today's part now we have to discuss is the first one is autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic. Now here the first word is auto. Auto. Auto means the first thing is the self. Self. And trophic means to eat. To eat. Or to consume. To get the food. Means there are certain organisms which are self-dependent in terms of food. They are self-dependent. And for eating whatever the food required to them, they can manage it by themselves. So this type of nutrition is called as autotrophic nutrition. Now the autotrophic nutrition is exhibited by whom? That is the green plants. All the green plants, they can make their own food. You have come to know this in class 5, 6, 7, 8 standard many a times that green plants can make their own food in presence of sunlight by reacting carbon dioxide and water molecule, as the green plants have chlorophyll in them, and therefore they can make their food. And that is to say that green plants are self-dependent as far as the food to eat is concerned. Therefore green plants perform autotrophic nutrition, and therefore green plants are called as autotrophs. Autotrophs. Now what are autotrophs? The organisms which exhibit autotrophic nutrition are called as autotrophs. Means the autotrophs are those organisms which can prepare their food by themselves. So they are called as autotrophs. Now autotrophs, as we have taken the example of the green plants, now what do? Green plants, they make their food. They make their food. Now make their food means we can say it is synthesis. So what does the word synthesis means? Synthesis means to produce, to make, to create. So green plants, what can they do? The green plants can make their food by themselves. Means green plants can synthesize their food. Green plants can synthesize their food. In short, we have said like that. But to synthesize the food, green plants need certain things. The foremost thing is that it needs the photons. It needs the photons. Photons of what? Means photons means you can say it needs light. Because light is said to be made up of some particles, and those particles are called as photons. And therefore light is also called as photo. Now photons are required from the sunlight to synthesize food by the green plants, and therefore we can say it is from the photons we will take these first things, PHOTO, photo, and then there is synthesis. If we combine them together, it becomes photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. So what is a photosynthesis? Therefore photosynthesis is the process by which the green plants make their own food in presence of sunlight by utilizing carbon dioxide and water in presence of the chlorophyll. So that is the definition of photosynthesis. So after autotrophs, we are discussing this part, photosynthesis. Now let us briefly discuss the entire process of photosynthesis. So the photosynthesis, there are certain raw materials. The raw materials, that is means the minimum requirements for the plants without which photosynthesis cannot run. What are the raw materials? The raw materials of photosynthesis, number one, that is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide which is collected from the atmosphere. In the atmosphere, whatever the carbon dioxide gas is present, this carbon dioxide is absorbed by the green plants, by the leaves. Because in the leaf there are some small holes called as stomata. We will come to this stomata later on. Through this stomata, carbon dioxide is absorbed. So carbon dioxide is the first raw material of photosynthesis for the green plants. Second is water, which is absorbed from the soil by the roots. Roots absorb this water. Third raw material that is required, these are certain minerals. Minerals like nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, etc. NPK, etc. So these are certain essential minerals which are present in the soil. When the water is absorbed by the roots from the soil, along with water, these minerals also enter the plant body, and these minerals, they play a very important role during the photosynthesis process. The number 4, this another raw material is that chlorophyll. Chlorophyll must be present to make the plant green, and without chlorophyll the entire process of photosynthesis will be flop. So these are the raw materials, and out of those the next thing which is very important, and that is light. Light means the sunlight, photons. So these are the raw materials. Out of those raw materials, carbon dioxide, water, mineral, these are the raw materials which we collect from the nature, means the surrounding. Chlorophyll raw material, it is present inside the plant body itself, and the last raw material, light, is coming outside from the earth, that is from the sun. So these are the raw materials. Now with those raw materials, the green plants go for the entire process of photosynthesis, and this entire process of photosynthesis completes in 3 steps. The first step is called as absorption of solar energy, that is light. First of all, the chlorophyll molecules which are present in the leaves will have to absorb the sunlight. This is the first step, and the sunlight will be absorbed by the chlorophyll. And the second step is that the solar energy gets converted. Solar energy that now gets converted to chemical energy. Now chemical energy is what? That is ATP. That is to say that when the solar energy, means sunlight, is absorbed by the chlorophyll molecule in the first step, then this solar energy green plants can convert into chemical energy in the form of ATP inside the chlorophyll molecule. And once the energy is obtained by the plant, then the third and final step takes place, and that is the carbon dioxide, which is a raw material I have already mentioned, which is absorbed by the plants from the atmosphere through the stomata. This carbon dioxide gets reduced. It gets reduced. So we reduced it. It gets reduced by hydrogen. And from where does this hydrogen come? The hydrogen comes from the water. And finally, when carbon dioxide gets reduced by hydrogen, it forms glucose. It forms glucose, and this glucose means the carbohydrate is the food for the plant. So these are the 3 main steps of photosynthesis process. In the entire process, photosynthesis completes in these 3 steps. Now in the 3 steps, whatever the chemical reactions takes place, all the chemical reactions including together, the photosynthesis reaction can be read like this. This is carbon dioxide reacts with water molecule in presence of sunlight. Definitely the need of chlorophyll is there, and then it will produce to C6 H12 O6 plus oxygen and plus water molecule. So this is the entire chemical reaction. For balancing, we will have to give 6 carbon dioxide, 12 molecules of water, 6 molecule of oxygen and 6 molecule of water. So when 6 molecule of carbon dioxide reacts with 12 molecules of water in presence of sunlight with the help of chlorophyll, these 2 things combine together to make 1 molecule of glucose, 6 molecules of oxygen and 6 molecules of water. This oxygen is released by the plant, and the water mostly remains inside the plant body because the water is a necessary part. However, if the water is excessive amount, This is also released from the plant body through the stomata by a process called transpiration. So that is what is a photosynthesis as far as this point is concerned, and here we will just look at a very small short duration animation on photosynthesis. So first enjoy it, then we will again continue the second part, that is stomata. So let's start the animation.
Green plants can make their own food. That's why they are called autotrophs. To carry out this complex process, plants use simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide, water, minerals like potassium, nitrogen, phosphorus. Green plants are the only organisms having the ability to trap energy from the sun to make food. How? You know leaves are green. Leaves have the green pigment chlorophyll present in the cell organelle chloroplast that traps solar energy to convert it into chemical energy in the form of carbohydrates. And this process is called photosynthesis.
So the animation is complete. Now let's come back to the second point, is stomata. I have already mentioned, during photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is to be absorbed, and this absorption is done by the leaves. How? Because in the leaves there are some small holes called as stomata. Now if we take, suppose this is the leaf of a plant. If this is the leaf of a plant, so on the leaf surface there will be some small holes, very small holes, numerous, uncountable numbers of holes are there. I think these small dot or points are visible. These small dots and points, actually they represent one stomata. There are one stomata. The stomata are actually openings, and they are microscopic. They are invisible to our naked eyes. We need microscopes to observe this. So how does this stomata, how do the stomata look like under a microscope? So let us see the structure of stomata. A stomata is made up of some special type of shells. These are some parenchyma cells. You can see this is a parenchyma cell. The cell is a living cell. It's a living cell. There will be nucleus and all, everything is there. Normal cell. And it is surrounded by some other cells. You can see there are some other cells. This is another cell. That is another cell. This is one more cell. So it is surrounded by some more cells, and finally we will get a structure like this. So here these two cells are called as GERD cells. GERD cells. So this cell and that cell both are called as GERD cells. The GERD cells are parenchyma cells. They have chlorophyll, they appear green, so they are the normal plant cells. And surrounded by these are also some parenchyma cells. But if we see the shape of the GERD cells, they are very peculiar. You can see the shape of the cell, peculiar. One side is convex, the other side is concave. Here this side is concave and that side is convex. So due to that, you can see there is in the middle there is a gap, and that gap is called as stomatal pore. Stomatal pore or opening. Stomatal pore or opening, and this is how actually under a microscope a stomata will look like. However, this stomata is open. It is an open stomata, and therefore through this pore what can go inside? Carbon dioxide gas can inside. Even during respiration, oxygen can also go inside. So whenever the plants will need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, or whenever plants will need oxygen for respiration, both the gases will enter inside the plant leaf through this stomata when it is open. Even through this open stomata, from inside of the plant, excess amount of water can go out during transpiration process. That is, transpiration is the process by which plants get rid from excess amount of water in the form of water vapor. The excess amount of water is released through the stomata. So this is how a stomata will look like when it is in open state. But at the same time, the stomata may be found closed, and under that condition you will see this is the guard cell. Now the same guard cell, you can see this guard cell and this is also guard cell, and surrounded by this, these are the other parenchyma cells we can see. This is a normal guard cell, and these are surrounded parenchyma cells. So if this is stomata, that is also stomata, but only difference we can say that this maximum, you can see this is the concave part, but here the concave part is missing. They are becoming almost flat, but the convex side is still there. As a result, the opening stomatal pore which was visible here, the stomatal opening or the pore is now not there. Under that condition, we will call the stomata is closed. So this is how the stomata can be found open, or stomata at the same time can be found closed. And this is how by closing and opening the stomata, plants maintain when to receive carbon dioxide gas or when to receive oxygen gas, when to release carbon dioxide or when to release oxygen gas or water vapor during transpiration. All these things are controlled by the stoma. So that is what we wanted to discuss about stomatal structure as per as your syllabus is concerned. Here we will see another animation on the stomata. So let's enjoy the animation on stomata.
Stomata. Stomata are microscopic parts consisting of two kidney-shaped guard cells. In stomatal transpiration, water vapor moves through the stomata of leaf. Mechanism of opening and closing of stomata. Transpiration occurs as long as the stomata are open. It stops when they are closed. Open and closed stomata. Closed stomata. Flaccid guard cell. Stoma closed. Stoma open. Turgid guard cell. Thick cell wall. Thin cell wall. The opening and closing of stomata depend upon the turgid or flaccid state of guard cells. When the guard cells are in the flaccid state, stomatal aperture closes. During daytime, as a result of photosynthesis, as the guard cells have chloroplast, concentration of carbohydrates rises, leading to osmotic uptake of water by the guard cells to swell. Since the wall of guard cells towards stomatal opening is thick, while outer convex wall is thin, inflow of water in the guard cells causes them to bulge outwards, thus widening the stomatal opening. When the osmotic pressure of the guard cells becomes lower during night, the water leaves these cells due to exosmosis and moves to the neighboring epidermal cells having cell sap of higher concentration. The guard cells become flaccid and shrink, and the stomatal aperture closes.
So after autotrophs, the heterotrophs means the organisms which are not self-dependent on their food. So here the word is coming here is hetero, and then this is trophy. Hetero means it is different. It is different. Or other, different or other. And trophic means eat. It means heterotrophic nutrition. It was like autotrophic, just opposite. In autotrophic we said auto means self and trophic means to eat. Means they are self-dependent as far as food to eat is concerned. Means they can make their own food. But here heterotroph means they are not independent, so they have to get the food from different organisms, from different source, from other source. Means heterotrophic nutrition is the mode of nutrition in which an organism has to collect the food to eat from a different or other source. For example, human being. We are not green plants, so we do not have chlorophyll. We cannot run the process photosynthesis, so we cannot produce glucose inside our body. So what we need to do to get glucose, we will have to eat some carbohydrate-rich food. Carbohydrate-rich food means we have to take some fruits like banana or sugarcane. We have to take rice, or you have to take wheat, that is rotis and all different things we have to take. Why? Because we cannot make this glucose inside our body, and therefore we have to collect it from some other source. So we will be called as heterotrophs. We will be called as heterotrophs, and our mode of nutrition is called as heterotrophic nutrition. Now, heterotrophic nutrition is again of different types. There can be different types of heterotrophic nutrition. There may be heterotrophic nutrition. They may be what? They may be, that is, carnivores. You have learned it already. Carnivores means they collect food only from other living organisms. They kill the organism and eat the flesh. For example, a tiger, a lion, they eat other animals and then they eat their flesh. Carnivores. Then we will get omnivores. These are the organisms which can take fleshes as well as the green grasses or herbs as their food. For example, human being. Human being is an organism which eat also the fleshes. We eat mutton, we eat chicken, and at the same time we take the vegetables, means we take the herbs as well as flesh, so we are omnivores. And the third is herbivores. So these are the organisms which always take grasses, herbs as their food. For example, cows. For example, elephant. For example, horses. So these are the three different types of organisms we find under the heterotrophic mode. Now, besides that, there can be certain other modes like the saprophytes. Saprophytes. So these are the organisms which always collect food from the dead and decaying materials, like the mushrooms, toadstools, etc. And then you will get another one, and that is parasites. So they also collect food from different sources. They live inside the body of some other organisms, and without killing them, they get or collect food from that living organism in whose body they are living. For example, the parasites may be internal and external. Internal parasites may be like worms, tapeworm, hookworm, roundworm, etc., which remain inside our body, and without killing us, they collect food continuously from there. And external parasites like leeches, mosquito, etc., they also live on our body. They collect food from our body. So these are the different types of heterotrophic organisms. But the heterotrophic organisms, when they collect food or when they get nutrition, now the question is, they break down the food either inside their body or outside the body. For example, let us see if this is an organism. Consider this is an organism. Now, it may have two things. One is there is food outside, and there is another organism. Suppose this is another organism and this is the food outside. The option may be like that. The organism may directly eat the food, and then food will be broken down inside the cell or inside the body. And there is second option, maybe this organism will not eat the food, but will break down it first outside. It will break down the food outside, and after it is broken down, then it will take the broken down parts. So in that way, the organisms may break down the food either inside their body or outside their body, like this. Now, inside the body, food is broken down where? In our body, like in humans, in all other animals, like in cows, goat, donkey, fox, monkey, etc. All the organisms, they eat the food goes inside the body, and then inside the body, inside the systems, they are broken down. But there are certain organisms which never eat the food, but before eating the food, they break down it to their smaller components. And then those smaller components, they absorb. And it is done by the moles, or you can say the mushrooms, toadstools. These are mostly the fungus. They do not digest the food inside the cell, but before that, they decompose the food outside and then they eat it. So they are decomposers. So this is what we wanted to discuss about the breakdown of the process inside and outside the body, or outside or inside the cell. Finally, we are coming to see nutrition in microorganisms, that is the organisms which have only one cell in their body, microscopic organisms. How do they get the food? Microscopic organisms means they have only one cell. Suppose this is the organism, this is nucleus and this is cytoplasm. So this is only one cell, and this cell is responsible for doing all the vital activities. This is the cell which will have to respire for the whole living thing. This is the cell which has to collect food. This is the cell, it has to digest food. This is the cell, it has to respire. This is the cell which has to grow. This is the cell which has to reproduce. This is the cell which has to die. So all the activities will have to be maintained by the single cell. In this condition, suppose this organism, macroscopic organism, is an amoeba. It's an amoeba. Now the question arises, how do this organism, amoeba, collects food? Because this organism does not have a mouth. Neither it is green to make their food. It is a heterotrophic organism. It doesn't make its food inside the body. It has to collect food from some other or different sources. So it's a heterotroph, and this heterotrophic amoeba will has to get food. How? So for that, suppose this is the food particle coming. This is a particular food substance. Food for the amoeba. It doesn't have definite mouth. So first of all, the amoeba will start increasing the cytoplasm along the direction of the food. You can see the cytoplasm is now changing the shape, and this change shape is now called as pseudopod. So it is one pseudopod, that is another pseudopod, and both are called as pseudopods, pseudopodia or pseudopods. Now the pseudopods will continuously increase in its length. It will continuously increase. It will not stop. It will grow like our hairs grow, like our nails grow. Similarly, in case of the amoeba, we will see the pseudopods will grow. And finally, a time will come, the pseudopods will totally join and will surround the food. You see, the food particle now has entered the body of the amoeba. And this is called as the vacuole. And this vacuole is containing some food, so we call it is also food vacuole. And inside the food vacuole, this is the food. This is the food. And now the different, that is cellular enzymes, will come to play a role, and the enzymes will enter and they will break down the food inside the food vacuole. And after breaking down the food, the required parts of the food will be utilized by the amoeba for getting energy, and with that energy the amoeba will carry out all the life processes to keep it surviving. So this process is seen in case of amoeba or in some other microorganisms, to see how actually the nutrition in microorganisms like amoeba takes place. And for this I have another animation for you to see how actually amoeba obtains food. So let us enjoy that animation as well.
In amoeba, nutrition is carried out in 5 different steps, just like the other animals. They are ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. Ingestion. When a food particle comes near amoeba, it ingests this food particle by using pseudopodia around it. Digestion. The food is digested in the food vacuole by digestive enzymes. Absorption. The digested food present in the food vacuole is directly absorbed into the cytoplasm of amoeba by diffusion. Assimilation. Food absorbed by amoeba is used to obtain energy for maintaining life processes. And egestion. When a sufficient amount of undigested food collects inside the amoeba, Then its cell membrane suddenly ruptures at any place and the undigested food is thrown out of the body of the amoeba. In amoeba, the digestion occurs within the cell. This type of digestion is called intracellular digestion.
Hope you have enjoyed this animation, how amoeba obtains food. And finally, we are coming to this point, nutrition in human being. Human being also is a heterotrophic organism, and the entire process of nutrition in human being is very complex. The food is taken in the mouth, it is chewed, masticated by the teeth, rolled by the tongue so that saliva can mix with it, and after that in saliva there are some enzymes. These enzymes digest the food, a little portion of the food in the mouth, and then food is swallowed, finally goes to stomach, and in the stomach different enzymes again digest the food, and then food reaches the small intestine where further digestion of food takes place, and finally it is absorbed and the unwanted part of the food is eliminated from the body, that is from the large intestine. And for all these things, that is nutrition in a human being, I have another video which already I have uploaded in your class in my last week, but I will again share the link to see the nutrition in a human being. So that was all for today. Hope you have understood, and if you have any problem you can ask me the questions in my personal WhatsApp number. Thank you very much.